Hello, this is Andrew Biss, the writer, producer, director of The End of the World, and I'm here with the redoubtable Mrs. Anna, who's kindly agreed to assist me in giving you a little more background and behind-the-scenes reveals from The End of the World. So, perhaps we should start off with you introducing yourself, Mrs. Anna.
What do I need to do that for? You already did it. And they know who I am. They listen to the show already. Why should I bore them by telling them who I am when they already know it?
Yes, good point. Well, in that case, why don't you fire off the first question on the list I gave you?
Yes, just give me a moment. Yes, what was your inspiration for writing The End of the World? Why am I asking you this? These are your questions. You wrote them.
Well, yes, I know. I just thought that it would be a bit more interesting to have a co-host, someone to have a little back and forth with.
Back and forth?
Yes, you know, a little repartee, a little badinage.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I don't really care. Go on.
Right. Well, in answer to your question...
Question?
Yes, my question. Well, the root of the story came about after I became curious about Buddhism. Now, I'm not a particularly religious person myself, but considering that Buddhism is one of the largest religions or philosophies in the world, I began to feel somewhat embarrassed that I didn't actually know anything about it, really. So I purchased a book about it. And when I say book, I mean it was more of a Buddhism for people who are somewhat embarrassed that they don't actually know anything about it kind of book. Or Buddhism for dummies, if you will.
That sounds about right.
But I found it very interesting, if a little hard to follow at times. And for a Buddhism for Dummies style book, I guess that doesn't speak terribly well for my intellectual capacity.
No, not at all.
Well, yes, anyway. The part I found most interesting of all talked about the Bardo Thodol, or more commonly known as, at least in the West, as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Now, before you start pointing your cursor at the stop button, don't worry. I'm not about to go into mind-numbing detail about the Bardo Thodol because, well, for one, I don't remember most of it, and secondly, it isn't really necessary. I'm just going to quickly go over the basics of what I found so fascinating when I first learned of it.
I already know this. This is not interesting for me. I will give you the next question.
Oh, no. I mean, I know you do, Mrs. Anna, but I'm sure many of our listeners may not be familiar with it, and, well, I think they might find it quite interesting.
Very well. Get on with it.
Yes, well, you see, there are essentially three states of Bardo. The first relates to the actual death of a person, and when in this state, the person is aware and accepts that they have died, and reflects on the life that they've lived and left behind. Now, in the second state of Bardo, the person encounters strange and frightening phantoms and apparitions. And unless the person can understand that these apparitions are not actually real, it can cause all kinds of problems with that person's prospective rebirth. Which brings us to the third and final state of Bardo, which is indeed the rebirth, and the transition into a new body. I'm sorry, am I boring you?
No. Please, continue.
Right. Well, anyway, I found the concept of the states of Bardo to be quite intriguing, and that's what provided me with the original spark of an idea to base the play around, because this story actually began life as a stage play.
Yes, very interesting.
On top of that, a few years prior to this, I had a similar encounter to the one that Valentine has at the beginning of the story. Like him, I was mugged at gunpoint, and in the course of the confrontation, I was shot.
What?
Yes, it was quite dramatic and traumatic. And without going into too much detail, the bullet went right through me, in one side, out the other, and, well, let's just say I lost an awful lot of blood.
My God, what is wrong with these people?
Anyway, long story short, the EMTs who took me to UCLA Medical Center, I was living in Los Angeles at the time, were overheard telling the admissions nurse that they didn't think I was going to make it, because I'd lost too much blood.
Oh, terrible, terrible.
But, as it turned out, and I should say, spoiler alert, I did make it.
What is this spoiler alert?
Oh, nothing. It was just a joke.
That was a joke?
Yes.
I don't get it. What was the point? Explain it to me.
Oh, no, really, it doesn't matter. Anyway, when something like that happens to you, it does obviously make you reflect on the fragility of life and, well, what comes next. And being that close to death, that close to not being here anymore, and this will probably sound a bit strange, but in the days and weeks that followed, I'd sometimes, out of nowhere, out of the blue, and just for the briefest of moments, I'd suddenly become struck with a feeling that I wasn't actually there. That I was sort of seeing myself in this world, in those moments, as if I was someone else. Someone who wasn't really supposed to be there. Like I was seeing or feeling a ghost sense of myself. Just briefly.
I thought your face seemed familiar. I think maybe I saw you appear one time. Just for a moment. Just an outline. A trace of you.
Well, yes, quite possibly. Anyway, as you can imagine, a lot of those experiences fed into what eventually became the end of the world.
Okay, that was too depressing. I will give you another question.
Oh, all right then. Jolly good. Fire away.
Let me see. Yes, it says, what happened to the play?
Well, there's actually quite an interesting story attached to that. Sometime after I'd finished writing the play, I'd seen a submission call for plays for something called the Hot Ink International Play Reading Festival, which was produced by NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. And so I submitted The End of the World to it, and some time later received word that it had been accepted into the festival, which, obviously, I was very pleased about. And my play was directed and curated by a wonderful woman named Eve Hartman. And Eve somehow managed to snag the actor Theo Stockman into playing the lead, Valentine. Now, Theo was something of a hot property, as he was one of the stars of the new hit revival of Hair on Broadway at the time. Anyway, he did a terrific job at the reading, and I honestly couldn't have been happier. And it was just so heartening to see this odd, peculiar play I'd written with no other aim but to create something that I found interesting to write, being performed in front of an audience in New York with a Broadway actor playing the lead. And in truth, as a play, it wasn't really very viable, what with people popping in and out of refrigerators and kitchen sinks, etc. I mean, of course, with the right budget, you can stage pretty much anything, but, well, this really wasn't the kind of play that would attract that kind of money. In fact, I remember that night in New York, one of the NYU faculty coming up to the director after the show and saying something like, "Congratulations, Eve. I see you finally found one with commercial potential." And while I remember feeling flattered at the time to hear him say it, I didn't really believe it for a second. Mrs. Anna? Mrs. Anna? Mrs. Anna?
Yes, very interesting, yes.
Well, also in the cast for that performance was a wonderful actor named Christine Rendell, who played Mother. Well, Christine had already performed in a couple of other plays of mine in New York, and I was very happy indeed when she agreed to take on the part, as I knew she'd be absolutely perfect for it. Which indeed she was. And of course, it's the very same Christine Rendell who reprised her role as Mother for this audio drama adaptation of the story, a full 16 years later. And it's little surprise that she's fantastic in it again, bringing as she does a wonderful Albee-esque quality to the part.
A what?
Albee-esque. Edward Albee, the playwright. He wrote a lot of characters that were...
Oh my God, that one. Don't even remind me. Oh my God, what a miserable man. Not pleasant at all. Very cantankerous. Very bitter man. I don't like cantankerous people.
No, of course not. No, so perhaps you have another question for me?
Oh, God, there's more. Just wait a moment. Give me a second.
Yes, of course. Take all the time you need.
I don't want to take the time. I want to get this done with.
I'm sorry?
I have it right here. What was it like adapting the play into the novella?
Well, yes, that came quite a few years later, actually. And, well, to be perfectly honest, I can't really tell you what my reason for doing it was originally. Might have been that I'd spent so many years writing plays that I wanted to see what it felt like to write something that was more prose-focused. But rather than attempting to write something entirely new from scratch, I thought maybe it would be a bit easier on me if I took one of my existing plays and just tried to adapt it into a book. I mean, this was foreign territory to me. But I have to tell you that once I started the process, it was an absolutely liberating experience for me. I thought I might find it a bit of a slog, but instead I found it to be an absolute joy. I think after so many years of being confined by the rules that playwriting necessitates, I mean, you're constantly having to consider where people are moving, what they're saying, at what moments, the whole rhythm of that, all of the mechanics of it, and the confines of this structure where everything you're writing is in service to movement and dialogue. Whereas in a prose story, you're free to add all kinds of shading and detail, description of the environment, the inner thoughts of the characters, embellishing the mood and the atmosphere. It was just a joy. And it turned the end of the world into something new entirely. I mean, the essential basics of the story were the same. Most of the dialogue remained, just more of it added when needed. But outside of that, it had truly become something all its own.
Yes, it's all fascinating.
And then, of course, many more years later, I adapted it again into an audio drama. But that was a far simpler process, since the book itself already lent itself to an audio drama script. A few additions and revisions were needed, but in truth, not a lot. And it was already divided into 11 chapters, which became 11 episodes. Well, actually in the book there were 12 chapters, the second chapter being called The Man in Black. However, it was far too short for me to release it as a single episode. It could only have been about 4 or 5 minutes long. So I simply incorporated it into the first episode, Cuckoos, which ended up actually being for the better, as the standalone chapter of Cuckoos, where it's just Valentine and his parents at home, doesn't really give the listener an idea of what the rest of the story is like. But with the addition of the Man in Black section, it does go some way in giving a taste of what can be expected from there on. It's where things start to get a bit odd. Anyway, I think perhaps we can wrap things up here, and
yes.
perhaps we
good
can
idea. Very good idea. Yes.
Yes, right. Well, it's been very kind of you to help me out here with this, Mrs. Anna. It's very much appreciated.
Not at all. It's not as if I have anything important to do.
Well, yes, I know you're a very busy person, so yes, I certainly do appreciate it, and well, if you're open to the idea, perhaps we can do this again soon.
Oh, I will have to check my calendar. It's a crazy time for me right now. There's Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan. It's just pure madness, but I will let you know.
Well, if you could, that would be great. I thought we could discuss maybe some of the more difficult parts.
I think I heard the doorbell. Excuse me, I have to go.
Oh, I understand completely. And it's certainly been very nice talking to you, and I certainly hope you can spare me a little more time soon so that we can discuss Yes. And, well, thank you for listening. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope we get to do this again very soon. Bye for now.